right? Which are muscle building ingredients that you need protein to build muscle, carbohydrates, which are a fuel source for the body to burn as you go throughout your day. And then fats are things that you need for your brain, for sustainability. So every single meal has a balance of the proper amount of proteins, the proper amount of carbohydrates, and the proper amount of fat.
Awe Genge, this is Mental Metals, hosted by Asagot Toto.
So actually, what made you be actually venture to the career of neurological healing and rehabilitation?
Yeah. Well, it comes from a personal perspective. I was a kid diagnosed with severe ADHD, and I was actually medicated. And then I also, I spent my whole life basically from 0 to 18 in and out of the doctor's offices. Lots of medication, sick, and really, I didn't want to I felt like there was always something underneath going on. And then I had speech and language issues. So I actually spent years in speech therapy. And then my brother is he was a vaccine injured child. He actually got meningitis following the vaccine. So I watched my brother for 6 straight weeks in and out of ice baths. And I'll never forget the day that, the doctor came in and actually told my dad that his little boy was going to be okay. And I watched my dad hug this doctor, and my dad is in tears. My dad was my superhero. And I was like, I'm going to be that guy one day. And, I went on this journey. I started reading encyclopedias at a very, very early age. And I actually developed an addiction from the medication that I was on. I was on methamphetamines for 18 years. And it was prescribed, but my addiction was actually books. And what happened is I memorized pages of books. I mean, I'm addicted to books. I read so much, and I can memorize the page numbers. And I literally have a photographic memory, so I memorize everything. And, the really neat thing about science is that science, especially, in neurology, it's very linear. But how I got to this component was really initially it was kind of like a selfish aspect. I wanted to learn how to fix myself. And so I decided to actually go into cancer research when I was at LSU and started studying really cool things about, sound waves and nutrition. Then I actually got involved in, biochemistry, which is the body's biochemical system. And in studying that, I realized that, and this is just my personal opinion, that people are being treated for the wrong things, that we're being treated for symptoms and not actually the original cause.
I saw that you actually transformed your life, your health and fitness at 41. To people that might be curious of that, what made you actually have that pivotal moment in terms of changing your life around at the age of 41?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had been always around health and fitness, meaning I'd always been, training a little bit. But at this particular time at 41, the last 3 years, I had been building a headhunting firm. That's my major trade over the since 2010 for 14 years. I've run headhunting firms for software companies. And so in this particular period, I had been building my second headhunting firm. And I was really prioritizing the success of the business over the success of my health. And so in trading my time to grow that business, I started making poor eating decisions. So that included like eating out and not watching necessarily the calories, and then including alcohol in the evenings, and then snacking whenever I wanted. And so over time, I had noticed a trend. Number one, my weight was going up. My energy was going down. My attitude was getting poor. And so I started to recognize, hey, I'm not really showing up the way I need to show up for myself, and most importantly for the people I love, which is my family. And at first I thought it was more nutrition, more training. So I would go and train. I would train 5-6 days a week, do group fitness classes. I would do calisthenics, which is body weight training. and my body wasn't changing and my attitude was getting worse. And it was getting worse because I was feeling worse in my body, essentially, that I wasn't feeling really good or confident in my body that I had accumulated, which was really out of shape. I found myself over 30% body fat. And in that period of time, that started creating all these autoimmune issues for me, skin rashes, digestion issues, sleeping issues, energy issues. And so I started to recognize, hey, maybe it's not so much the training aspect, because it seemed that I can't outtrain a bad diet. I had heard that a bunch of times, but then I started to realize maybe I really can't outtrain a bad diet, because I was training really hard. I was still training and burning 800, 900, 1,000 calories in a workout, and my body was getting worse. And then I was coming home and I was having these poor eating habits because I thought I had earned the right to eat these foods because of my training. So the catalyst was really after a while of my body getting worse and then going and entering a fitness transformation contest at a place called Orange Theory. They had taken a picture of me, like a pre-picture right before the contest picture. And I looked at that photo and I was just in complete shock and disgust at how my body had changed and how I just did not approve of the body that I was in. And then I started to recognize, well, I really have not been a pleasant person to be around either. And I started to associate the fact that that was most likely because I was uncomfortable in my skin. And I was uncomfortable in my skin because I was putting the wrong foods in my body. And so I really started to evaluate my eating habits. And I was recognizing that after 8 o'clock, I was eating a lot of sugar. I was eating a lot of foods that were processed. And on those days, the following morning, I was waking up in just 50% capacity and really not being in a place where I was optimal. And so that awareness led me on a journey of kind of discovery around what are the proper foods that I should be eating? When should I stop my eating window? What should I eat within my eating window? And then, that also led to, okay, what's the right style of training for me? Because I was over the age of 35, and after 35, really the game changes for men. Our testosterone starts to plummet. Our muscle mass starts to decrease. Our energy starts to decrease. So we really have to fight against that. And at 41, I was feeling the wear and tear on my body. I started to feel my age. I started to feel old for the first time. And so I had lots of aches and pains as well. And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to feel this way. I'm only 41. I'm not 81. And so I went on this journey of discovery and getting the right information that I needed to then make better decisions.
And you one thing that I realized in terms of, and I wouldn't say talk in a point of view as someone that is over at the age of 35, but in a way of myself, I have been having in the past, I had my own, I would say, my own self-doubts and actually judging myself in the way of my weight, in terms of looking myself in the mirror and realizing that, oh flip, I don't love the way that I am. My next question towards that is the fact that in terms of, as you've spoken about it, in terms of you are in the business of helping men over 35 to actually regain their lives, because sometimes when we have that insecurities about our bodies, we lose our self-esteem, we lose our identity in a way of flip. Let me just continue in terms of in terms of eating junk food, drinking alcohol in the past. So what is one thing that you would like to say to them?
Yeah, it's just an accumulation. Like, I guess as you age and you get more responsibility, you become a husband, you become a father, you become an employer or an employee, you become a provider, you're supposed to be a protector. You're also supposed to find a way to keep advancing the quality of life for your family. And whether that's buying newer cars and newer houses, and then, oh, by the way, you need to take 2 nice trips a year. And so all of those responsibilities start to stack. And there becomes very little time for the man to prioritize his health if it's not top of mind and he doesn't have a blueprint or a real clear path on how he can execute a small piece of his time towards training and then complement that throughout the day with nutrition. So we become super reactive in the world of health and nutrition as we get successful in life and be a provider and play these other roles. We start to then not prioritize the things that we're eating. So we just eat when the moment comes up, like, yeah, let's go grab a bite to eat, or yeah, let's have a glass of wine. And so we don't recognize how those things are detrimental to the person we're trying to become. Because when you put in alcohol in your body, it's a neurotoxin. So that immediately stops any ability for your body to function at 100%, right? Your body's now in defense mode. When your body's in defense mode, if you're trying to build muscle or you're trying to lose weight, you're not doing that at that moment. Your body cannot play offense for you. It has to play defense and protect your body, right? Same thing when you put in sugar. Same thing when you put in fried foods. They're highly inflammatory. So when you're putting in foods and drinks and drugs, some people, your body goes into defense mode. And if you're trying to become somebody that's a leader, somebody that has standards in their life, you have to recognize that these things are preventing you from getting there. So the advice is you've got to recognize, hey, where are my bad habits? Number one. And then two, you've got to prioritize, which is, hey, I think I need to make a shift in habits, which means I need to make a shift in routine. And that shift in routine means I need to prioritize my health and fitness first. Just like they tell you on an airplane, like, hey, before you save your loved ones, you've got to put the mask over your mouth first in order to be in a position to save them. Same thing applies with your health and fitness. It's not the end all be all. Not everybody wants to get in, tip top shape where they can go on a stage and compete and show their body in a bikini or a pair of shorts, but you still need to be optimal when it comes to health and fitness so that you could then take care of and serve the people you love and care about. And so that starts for me with a set of daily habits, right? Things that I can control, because a lot of our day gets away from us and we have no control over some of those things. So I always encourage people to control the controllable. All right. Control the things that you can control. You can control what time you wake up in the morning. You can control the information that you subject your mind to by reading the right things and consuming the right information. You can control blocking out a time on your calendar to get a workout in, whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, you can still control that, right? You then can control the things that you put in your body, which is just being a little bit more thoughtful and mindful on the early side of it and planning. Hey, these are the meals that I'm going to eat, and these are when I'm going to eat them. And these are why I'm going to eat these meals, because they're optimal for me. They support my busy lifestyle and schedule. And oh, by the way, they're going to be good for my body. And then lastly, you need to find a way to sustain from alcohol and drugs, because those things are subconsciously telling your mind and your body that you need to escape from something. And when you're always in this place of subconsciously escaping, it becomes very difficult to look yourself in the mirror and believe the words and thoughts that you're telling yourself. So over time, what happens is you're always saying, oh, I'm going to start next Monday, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, but you never do it. And so no longer can you look yourself in the mirror with your shoulders back and your head high, because you've told yourself so many lies so many times that you've never followed up on. And a lot of that has to do with drugs and alcohol, right? Because when you put those things in, you start to waver on your belief and your conviction, and you're silencing your passion and your purpose. And so I always encourage people, if you can just start simple by controlling the controllable, which is waking up early, putting the right information into your ecosystem. 3, getting a good sweat on so that you're releasing endorphins and you're increasing your vibration, being ready for the day. 4, support that with the right types of foods that are going into your body to then support the other goals, giving you the right energy. And your gut is an extension of your brain. So if you're feeding your gut the right things, it's going to send the right signals to your brain, which is going to create the right thoughts. And those thoughts are going to give you a belief system that says, hey, I'm showing up for myself. I'm doing what I said I've wanted to do for so long, but now I'm actually doing it. And the last piece of that is finishing the day without consuming drugs or alcohol. Because the minute you do that, you kind of tell yourself, well, maybe I'm not good enough to have a whole complete day. Just part of the day I can be good. And then you have to wake up the next morning and you don't have that motivation. It starts to fleet. And so I always say motivation comes and goes. That's not going to get you through a journey. Having passion and purpose will, right? And understanding why you're doing it. And if your why doesn't make you want to cry, then it's not strong enough, right? You have to have a very strong why as to the reason you're going to go on a journey of personal development, and use health and fitness as a component to get there.
And you spoke about in terms of having a purpose, a purpose and passion. And I feel like I just want to underline the word purpose. And sometimes